A man shows us his great-grandmother's corpse that he keeps in his backyard. A World War II ventriloquist dummy moves on its own. Shadow figures, ghostly wheelchairs, cursed images from the darkest corners of YouTube, and more. These are creepy videos that'll make you lose sleep. This first video is uploaded to YouTube on October 29th, 2010 by a guy named DJ Def Joey. It's one of the creepiest videos on the site. The video opens with Joey communicating in sign language, with subtitles explaining what he's saying. He starts off by explaining that he dug up his great-grandmother's coffin from a cemetery because he felt like it wasn't being taken care of properly. So he brought it back to his place and keeps it in his backyard. He then shows the coffin on camera and opens it, and yep, here she is, a corpse. She looks like the Crypt Keeper. Now, this is already uncomfortable enough, but boy does it get worse, because Joey leans in and gives her a series of loving pecks. Revolting, creepy, incredibly unsettling, and to this day, people still haven't figured out if this is real or not. YouTube, man, it used to be a way creepier place back in the day. The weird side of YouTube. I don't know, it doesn't really exist anymore. These videos are harder to find. Everything's so sanitized nowadays. Anyway, this next one also comes from the early days of YouTube. Username 666. This was uploaded on February 26th, 2008 by a Japanese creator known as Piro Pito. Once again, a cursed video from the dark depths of the platform. The whole thing is someone's POV of their computer screen. They try to go to a YouTube channel by typing in a URL with the name 666. At first, the page just shows a suspended account. The person keeps refreshing the page over and over. After a few refreshes, things start changing. The layout begins to look wrong, like parts of the site aren't loading properly. As they keep refreshing, the page gets more distorted. The colors and layout shift, and eventually the site turns into this glitched out, hellish version of YouTube. There are all these like pustules and stuff everywhere. After that, the channel becomes accessible and the person starts clicking through the videos on it, but before they can open the last one, a blank pop-up window appears on the screen and they click it. From there, they try to get out. They pause the video, they try to close the browser, hit the back button, open Task Manager and attempt to shut the computer down. None of it works. It reminds me of the computer frying viruses I would accidentally download off LimeWire when I was a teenager. And other sites that I won't mention. There was nobody home, but something was moving around in the garage. This video was captured by Janet Finns on TikTok. She said her neighbors were out of town. The house was totally empty, or at least it was meant to be. As Janet was walking by, she noticed the light flickering in her neighbor's garage. She started filming, and that's when she caught a glimpse of something, a shadowy shape darting across the window. She called the police, but when they arrived and checked everything out, they found the house was completely empty and there were no signs of forced entry. So, what exactly did she capture on camera that day? Moving on, we got some old school archival footage showing Ed and Lorraine Warren helping out with an exorcism. Now look, whether you actually believe in possessions or even agree with the ethics of doing this to someone, we can probably all agree that this video is just plain creepy. I'll probably say this a few times today, but there's just something about that grainy, degraded VHS quality that gives everything an eerie vibe. And the fact that this is an exorcism, of course, makes it 10 times worse. This one was actually a Buddhist ritual. Between the language barrier and the fuzzy video, it's a bit hard to follow exactly what's happening, but you can clearly tell the woman is in distress. She's convulsing, making these jagged, admittedly demonic sounding noises. The clip cuts off before the whole thing finishes. Even if you're a total skeptic and don't think anything supernatural is happening, I think the raw intensity here will still get under your skin. This next clip comes from Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research in Chandigarh, India. It's late at night and the CCTV is rolling on this deserted outdoor ramp when one of the wheelchairs just starts rolling off on its own. One of the security guards, Manoj Kumar, was actually outside when it happened. He said, "I came out to drink water and saw the wheelchair moving on its own. The chair was originally tucked away behind a pillar, but for no obvious reason, and began rolling across the pavement. It actually picks up a decent amount of speed, cruises all the way down the ramp, and ends up out in the garden. Some people at the hospital tried to write it off as a strong gust of wind, but others pointed out that the chair was parked in a spot that should have been shielded by the building. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Now, I'm really glad YouTube wasn't around when I was a really little kid, because if I came across this, I'd have had nightmares for months. That is Mr. Fritz. It was originally built by an American prisoner of war named Billy Booth while he was held in Poland during World War II. Billy was an entertainer before the war, and he used the dummy to keep up the spirits of the other prisoners. Unfortunately, just 2 weeks before the camp was liberated, Billy and several other prisoners were led into a field and executed by the guards. After the war ended, a fellow prisoner brought the dummy back to the US and gave it to Billy's family. Eventually, Mr. Fritz ended up in the hands of a collector in Liverpool named Michael Diamond. Michael started noticing that the glass display case that he kept the head in would be wide open every morning, even though he'd locked it the night before. So he decided to set up a GoPro to see what was going on, and that's where this footage comes from. The cabinet door swings open on its own, then the dummy's eyes start to blink and its mouth begins to twitch. Michael's wife and daughter apparently can't stand the thing, so he ended up chaining the box shut and covering it with a blanket. This one takes us to Mexico City International Airport. Back in 2016, a security guard named Francisco Hernandez was working the graveyard shift. It was around 3 a.m. right at the end of his shift when he heard the sound of doors slamming coming from inside of one of the planes. He went in to investigate. As he walked through the dark cabin, shining his torch down the aisle, he caught something. A shadowy figure peers out from around a corner at the end of the aisle. Francisco later said, "At first I wasn't sure what I was seeing. I whispered to myself, 'What is this?' and even took a few steps forward because I thought it could be a trick of the light. But when it moved back and forth on its own, I knew I wasn't making it up. When I saw that night, really freaked me out and I ran for my life. I've been reluctant to come forward with this story because not many people believe me, but fortunately, I recorded the incident so I could play it back and check that I wasn't imagining it." He went on to say that without the video, he would have doubted what he saw himself. Obey the Walrus is basically the grandfather of every cursed video you've ever seen on YouTube. If you were scrolling the site back in 2007, this was the one that gave everyone collective trauma. Kicks off with a glitched out character from Star Fox, while a high-pitched demonic version of the Itsy Bitsy Spider plays in Spanish. Then it cuts to this incredibly thin figure tap dancing with an umbrella. The whole thing is jittery, the audio turns into an ear-piercing screech, and it just ends on a silent photo of a walrus. Back in the day, the internet went kind of off the rails with theories. People were convinced it was a deadly file, some kind of brainwashing tool for a secret cult. The legend was that just clicking on it would trigger a run of insane bad luck. It felt forbidden because at the time nobody knew what they were actually looking at. While the real story is a lot more grounded. The footage was actually ripped from a 90s documentary about Sandy Crisp, a legendary underground drag performer known as the Goddess Bunny. Sandy was a polio survivor. Basically, an internet troll took the clip of her dancing, threw on some nightmare fuel filters, and turned a real person into a digital boogeyman. Even though the video was clearly made to exploit her for cheap scares, Sandy was a massive icon in the LA art scene until she passed away in 2021. In this final video, Sergei, a Russian hunter, was trekking through the East Siberian taiga, a forest so massive and wild that the locals warned people not to go in alone. Sergei was experienced though, so he ignored the warnings and headed deep into the woods to film some content for his channel. Everything was fine until he set up camp and caught this bizarre metallic whistling echoing through the brush. After a while, the whistling stops and you hear what sounds exactly like a man screaming. Since Sergei was miles away from civilization, the odds of another person being right there, they were very, very slim. And even if it was someone, well, why were they screaming like that? Sergei decides to call it and heads back to camp to grab his gear and get out of there. But as he's hauling it through the woods, he realizes his worst case scenario is actually happening. Something or someone is stalking him. He starts hearing these high-pitched whooping sounds that are clearly getting closer, and then he catches this. A twig snaps right next to him, and then you hear what sounds like someone laughing in the dark. You can hear Sergei's breathing get heavy and ragged. He's clearly in pure survival mode. With no other options, he just climbs a tree to get some distance from whatever it is on the ground, but the noises just continue. Sergei starts firing into the air, hoping the noise will scare it off. He spends the rest of the night perched in that tree, occasionally taking shots in the dark as the sounds continue. Once the sun finally peeks through, he makes a break for home. And that has been the video. I will catch you, yes you specifically, next time.